When I came out of jail, I did Piers Morgan, and I told Piers that what was happening in Gaza was a massacre. And this was on like October 9th, like 2 days after.
You said genocide.
Genocide. I said it was unfair what was happening. This was before it became like widespread. This was only a couple days after. And I was told not to say that. That's going to get you in a lot of trouble. But that's what I believed. It is interesting that it seems the only influence over the American government that we're not scared about or we don't measure is the Israeli influence of the American government. It seems they do have some control over the American government. They do lobby heavily, and nobody talks about it in a negative way. Whereas if the Chinese do it or the Russian do it, there seems to be a big problem. It doesn't seem to be measured when Israel does it, and nobody seems to be concerned by it. Let me ask another question. This is a thought experiment. If you allow a nation to influence your nation, and you allow it to happen unchecked, who's influencing the influencer? I don't know this at all. This is off the top of my head. Who says Israel's not being influenced by China, Russia, whoever? What I'm saying is they can be a conduit if you allow it to be unchecked.
Andrew Tate is no stranger to controversy, but his latest comments have sparked a firestorm unlike anything we've seen before. In a recent podcast appearance, Tate made bold claims about American politics, suggesting that it's heavily influenced by Israel and that the system is designed to operate in a way that most people don't even notice. These remarks have led to some accusing him of being anti-Semitic, while others are calling it a Pandora's box moment that's reigniting debates about power, influence, and free speech.
Israel seems to be the only country that can influence American politics without being checked. I understand that. I understand that's strange. I agree that should be measured.
Tate didn't stop there. He went on to argue that American politics, in one way or another, is under the influence of Israel, claiming that lobbying efforts from within the US are shaping policies and decisions in ways that go largely unnoticed by the public. According to Tate, this kind of influence isn't being scrutinized enough, and he believes the American government should be acutely aware of all external pressures, including those from Israel.
It is interesting that it seems the only influence over the American government that we're not scared about, there seems to be a big problem. It doesn't seem to be measured when Israel does it, and nobody seems to be concerned by it. The American government should be pertinently aware of all influences that are put on it. Shouldn't you measure them? I'm not saying even stop them, but shouldn't you know?
This isn't the first time Andrew Tate has made headlines for his views on Israel. In fact, he's been one of the most vocal figures calling out Israel's actions in Gaza, going as far as labeling it a genocide. During his explosive interview with Piers Morgan, Tate didn't hold back, stating that what's happening in Gaza isn't a war. It's a one-sided assault where innocent people are having their limbs blown off by one of the most advanced military systems in the world.
What is your view of this war?
I think when you call it a war, you're doing a disservice to the people who are having their limbs blown off by some of the most advanced technical weaponry on the planet. It is a genocide and it is disgusting.
He didn't stop there. Tate took it a step further, arguing that when you're witnessing a genocide, it shouldn't matter which side of the political spectrum you're on. It should disgust you. He accused Israel of trying to control the narrative, suggesting that they're attempting to downplay or justify what's happening in Palestine. And in true Tate fashion, he didn't shy away from calling out Piers Morgan directly, even mocking him by implying that Morgan's bosses were preventing him from acknowledging the reality of the situation.
It doesn't matter which side of the political spectrum you fall on. When you observe a genocide in front of your very eyes, you should be disgusted.
Which side is waging genocide?
The Israelis are genociding the Palestinians, and you know it as well as everybody else does. Well, then it seems like your bosses are not allowing you to know it.
And here's where things take a darker turn. Tate claims that his outspoken views on Israel and Hamas were the very reason he was thrown into jail. In his own words, he was warned to stay silent about Israel, but he refused to back down. He declared that he believed in what he was saying, so he said it anyway, and was allegedly told he'd have to face the consequences.
You know, it's actually kind of frustrating for me because when I came out of jail, I did Piers Morgan, and I told Piers that what was happening in Gaza was a massacre. And this was on like October 9th, like 2 days after.
You said genocide.
Genocide. I said it was unfair what was happening. This was before it became like widespread. This was only a couple days after. And I was told not to say that. That's going to get you in a lot of trouble. But that's what I believed, so I said it.
Tate's comments didn't stop at just criticizing Israel. He made it clear that while he believes Israel played a role in his legal troubles, he doesn't think it's fair to blame Jewish people worldwide for it. He pointed out that there are anti-Semitic individuals who take their hatred to the extreme, blaming every problem in the world on Jews and Israel. And according to Tate, these people think they've cracked the secret of the world by pinning everything on Jewish people, a mindset he openly rejects.
So I think think this whole argument is kind of two-pronged. The first prong is that there are people in the world who blame the Jews for absolutely everything, and that is pathetic. And these people think that they worked out the secret of the world, and they're based, and they blame Jewish people for everything. They're like, oh, but that's the Jews.
Tate didn't hold back when addressing some of the more extreme conspiracy theories either. He mocked the idea that Jewish people control the media and, by extension, manipulate societal norms, like the notion that women are subverted by the media and that Jews are somehow behind it all. With his signature bluntness, he called out the absurdity of such claims, saying, "How are Jews stopping anyone from becoming attractive to women? They're not stopping you from going to the gym."
Oh, but you can't get a girlfriend because the girls have all been subverted by the media. That's the Jews. How did the Jews keep you out the gym? Because your arms are skinny, bro. Like, how did the Jews stop you from being a man they want to fuck? Explain that to me. Like, they go so far with it.
He dismissed these arguments as pathetic, pointing out how illogical and baseless they are. He even took it a step further, joking that if you dare to call out these anti-Semitic conspiracy theorists, they'll immediately label you as a Mossad agent.
And if you try and point this out, you're instantly a Mossad agent. Even I get this. After defending Palestine and risking my life, because they could have locked me back up and I was told not to, they're still not happy with me because I don't go far enough with blaming the rain on the Jews.
Candace Owens has also weighed in on the controversial topic of Israel's influence in American media. In a recent interview, she argued that since the war in Palestine began, certain media outlets, including the New York Post, have been aggressively pushing what she called an Israeli agenda. Owens claimed that these outlets have created an environment where anyone who dares to oppose Netanyahu's stance on the conflict risks being annihilated by the media.
But then you started to realize this was about power, and this was about control, and this was about trying to manipulate people to take your perspective. And post-October 7th, you had what I refer to them as like the Likud party media in America. I count the New York Post among them, who just insisted that unless you agreed with everything that Bibi Netanyahu was doing and towed a very specific line, they were going to smear and libel you and ruin your life.
Candace Owens didn't stop there. She revealed that despite the immense pressure to align with certain narratives, she refused to back down. She stood her ground even when people within her own community labeled her a self-hating black woman for her views. Owens emphasized that she believes everyone should have the right to form and express their own opinions about Netanyahu's actions in Palestine, without fear of backlash or cancellation.
I didn't play that game with my own community. I was willing to take all of the figurative bullets with Black America, calling me a race traitor, a self-hating black person, whatever it was. I don't view Jewish people to be some exception where you're allowed to now call everybody anti-Semites because you can't actually debate what Bibi Netanyahu is doing and why so many people around the world are not comfortable with it.
Andrew Tate also raised a critical question. What happens if Israel's influence is allowed to spread unchecked? He argued that this kind of influence, if left unmonitored, could become a conduit for shaping policies, narratives, and even global power dynamics in ways that might not align with the interests of other nations or their citizens. Tate's comments suggest a deeper concern about the balance of power and the potential consequences of allowing any single entity to wield too much influence.
If you allow a nation to influence your nation and you allow it to happen unchecked, who's influencing the influencer? I don't know this at all. This is off the top of my head. Who says Israel's not being influenced by China, Russia, whoever? What I'm saying is they can be a conduit if you allow it to be unchecked.
Andrew Tate's recent comments have once again thrust him into the center of a heated and polarizing debate. His claims that he was jailed for speaking out against Israel, coupled with his assertions about the underlying influence of Israel in American politics, have sparked widespread discussion and controversy. Tate argues that this influence operates subtly, shaping policies and narratives in ways that often go unnoticed by the public. He warns that if left unchecked, this dynamic could have far-reaching consequences, not just for the US, but for global power structures as well. While Tate's statements have been met with accusations of anti-Semitism, he has also drawn a clear line, rejecting the extreme and baseless conspiracy theories that blame Jewish people for all the world's problems. His critique is aimed at what he sees as systemic issues of power and influence, rather than targeting an entire group of people. Candace Owens has echoed similar concerns, highlighting what she describes as the aggressive push of an Israeli agenda in American media, particularly in the wake of the conflict in Palestine. Like Tate, Owens has faced backlash for her views, even from within her own community, but she remains steadfast in her belief that everyone should have the right to critique powerful entities without fear of retribution. Together, Tate and Owens have reignited a conversation about the role of foreign influence in American politics and media, free speech, and the consequences of speaking out against powerful institutions. Whether you agree with their perspectives or not, their willingness to challenge mainstream narratives has undeniably sparked a necessary, if uncomfortable, dialogue about accountability, power, and the limits of influence in a globalized world. What do you think about Andrew Tate's take on Israeli influence in American society? Do you believe that the Israeli lobby holds significant sway over US policies and media narratives? Or do you think these claims are overstated? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. This is a complex and divisive topic, and we'd love to hear your perspective. Stay tuned for more content, because one thing's for sure, Andrew Tate doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Like, share, and subscribe for more updates on this and other trending stories. Thanks for watching!